Hello, America. Anthony Wall, YouTuber Anthony Wall, aka, which stands for also known as Anthony, also known as Romulus Wall. This is Romulus science. The ancient republic for which we stand had been revealed in ancient times. The story of and Remus becomes the science of Romulus and Remus through cipher/decipher. The evidence we're given is to be coupled with awareness of the criminally foreign influence databases, forced, tricked, hurt, persuaded upon everyone, self-value though. And that is recorded simultaneously with and as the value of that which is actually recorded when you glean from, when you proceed from what is being said, when you hear summary convictions of American history, of history in general. For example, my videos, we've been speaking about how using proofs of how our founding parents didn't have free speech because they had other speech forced by a breaching method that would force anyone not using that other speech to be censored and attacked and tortured and hurt and worse in the people around them. This is a method then, sickly distinctly from how now, but sickly non-distinctly too, how it used all locations. It uses the locations next to the locations to use all voices, all ages of our fact treatment nature. Tactically, the victims for the reactions having been propagated, and for the defenses of the reactions, more valuable than gold to the breaching method that needs to maintain, having been blamed on other things, others ourselves, what it cost, and that which is increasingly important. It's increasingly a negative identity of relationship to the identity of simultaneous nature that every identity is. That it's an increasingly negative identity to that identity that causes evolution's fruits and gifts. Evolution's fruits and gifts per its system, though. See, these systems that are other ways to make positive value nature progressions in a tactically denatured, tortured, criminally re-engineered education base that is manifest with the fact treatment nature styles of identities and titles and ground locations uses as its own still. Once it starts being the Constitution's unabridged, that simultaneously is the species volumes unabridged. It's actual native science, our actual answers. See, these answers have been replaced, were measured and maintained, replaced in self-value, having been replaced relative to its having known each identity, ground locations, types of identities now, other than the native one. We're going to realize needs to hurt other things, others, and ourselves, and value hurt others' needs or ourselves, because nature itself is going to demonstrate these identities fake. In other words, and where we are, the identity of value / value. Identity is a relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. It is a relative in the same way value is, and further, because it further shows it's invisible but still discernible. Also, hyper invisible but still discernible semi-nature conjunction to that which is the phenomenon of us being a semi-nature in the first place, but being able to be a complete nature. Because if it's not only unceasing, but only increasing identity of relationship to us, and identity of value of that, a value relativity to positive and negative treatments, value treatments, identity treatments, time treatments, sequence shifts, a couple of ups of them, and means to show them recorded, show also simultaneously recorded the actual conscious uses of consciously criminally foreign influenced statutes and precedents blamed on other things, others, and or on themselves. Even when correctly, they're doing it exactly the way the breaching method wanted and needs. So there's Representative Thompson involved with treatments of the group, the quote, group think at the not January 6th. And there are people saying they don't want it ever to happen again because they're trying to establish evidences out of sequence and offensively. So too late and preemptively, because they are covering up lie progressions with regards to their roles through wars, the Connecticut intercities and interstates, and then further intercampuses. They are maintained effectively. Victim predators kept how also recorded to all locations, further collusion with uses of all locations, originally still by that order, by the breaching method that had everyone methods, plural, to its breaching method as criminal insidious natures of jobs and of titles and of names and locations that were all tactical ulterior from that nature. That is its identity of relationship to itself, naturally, why, as the system, why and how we are individually grouped and together. These are value as nature / nature as value. To really teach about language correctly, to really teach about English grammar correctly, one needs to understand how the hyper-simultaneous is discernible as an identity of volume. Hyper-invisible. Now, the hyper-invisible one can only be discerned and studied through constant observation of the invisible, but still discernible, that which language was revealed to do. See, but we have this language, the science is plural. Science is individually / plural, because the value of that is increasing too. And that's part of the way invisible and hyper invisible, but still discernible, we could discern the only increasing value of the sciences, positive or negative, though. And that is not immediately discernible what is positive or what is negative. There are criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments, criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments, and negative treatments where are in collusion with the formal fact treatment nature, for example. Opinions, no inclusion with but regarding justifications of takes on, acceptations of the problems in New York City and or the stability of New York City and or the freedom of New York City, where it is most overtly, for example, one of the places it is most overtly recorded as actually recorded, where how in our country and in countries A through Z, freedom has never been secured. The Revolutionary War has never been won. And the wars that have followed, they have followed that with self-valued roles, using all exceptions where it has not been, where people were really trying to fight for freedom and for the human science. It was through, and it is through, criminally re-engineered in collusion sciences. But through the motivations of it, everyone missed because it was through uses of it at all locations. Everyone blamed on other things, others and or themselves. Why and how, really, the sciences became abridged. Where and how really that was as relevant at all locations with our treatments of names and sequence treatments. Because even they have where we're going to see each other, and used by the method that's actually recorded with the campuses. So they make exceptions of people pretending to know each other, including with interactions regarding recorded child abuses on and off campuses orchestrated by people on the campuses in collusion with people off the campuses. Because they have natures of juxtaposed abuses of each age of fact treatment nature juxtaposed, because there are uses of that with only people who speak for the law originally and still are those overtly criminally foreign influence, like overt criminal enterprises and private ones originally and still. The only reason justified is because our founders still had to hide their roles, and while they were doing that, they had to get money. So they had to stay entrenched with and as what they couldn't be. But, they measured and maintained other talk effectively because of the effectiveness of that method. That was sophistication here since before our founding parents were even born. It is, and still the complete possession over positive and negative treatments and identity treatments of Native Americans. They have no choice. Just like us, just like the parents across the states. They use CRT, for example, to keep for one of the means to keep pretending stupid, the roles that are differentially criminally foreign influence the location still. Not just the branches of government, differentially increasingly. But it's in other words, so it's like the overt criminal enterprises and the private ones. There are means to show how they are also with that insidiousness that everyone also has actually recorded, relevant to and as the value of those opinions / convictions. Also by polling agencies and methods of pretending to be able to pretending to be legitimately measuring what the American people think. For example, the American people think relative to seeing pictures of New York City. We know that is not humanity being spoken for, honestly. We know that they are using and having used words like theory with the law to further their roles originally and still as lawyers and as the interbranch, criminally foreign influence, witch trials, and other natures of same slavery simultaneous that they were and are obligated to have us discern simultaneously, but we have other being taught obligated to the teachers for them to teach. We have them involved with fabricating audio and video, police forms, planting evidences on campuses, on people's homes when they're not there, like with apartments. We have the military involved with the interbranch, also with the differential criminal foreign influence. They've been used remotely since before they were born, since before our parents were born. Wethersfield, Connecticut was set up already with slavery between New York and Boston. Slavery was in the North and in the South. See the pathology of houses from here to Russia? The suburbs look the same since before cars. Now, these are nations with nuclear weapons pointed at each other because they are in collusion against each other. Same way the overt criminal enterprises came through the same public schools and private schools. Recorded roles, also with the news media fabricating audio, video, identity thefts and frauds with them, falsified police reports roles with them, and forced roles, abuses of people's neighbors, bringing up people's sense and sensibilities by being by playing big world, small world, everyone speaks to others with fake cops switching names, forging names, as ones with departments themselves, many ways criminally foreign influence, and involve all kinds of ways with abuses of each age of fact-keeping nature, where they keep the boys and the girls divided and united both ways to the way the breaching method wanted needs insidiously exploited. Identity theft, fraud, and slanders employed. Now, those slanders are specifically to keep each age of correlation nature, sick, positive, or negative treatments, and roles in collusion with the interbranch of each age of fact-keeping nature, and all private tied to them, and exceptions tied to them, and not tied to them. They're just private at the same time. They database clicks, overt criminal enterprise, people associated with corners when they're driving by with someone, when they hear something tied to that corner. Because then this keeps the sense and sensibilities of investigators, and of people, and of the branch of the government, of judges and prosecutors. Keeps them by keeping their family members, their uses of insights into their roles on off the locations on off Trinity College, on off the locations next to that, on off Central Connecticut State University. They were exploited leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since. They were also exploited before that, but specifically consciously, people in Wethersfield interbranch, and all exceptions tied to them, also intercities that were and are involved with evidence reception, data reception, and names reception, where there's a method that effectively recorded how keeps sense and sensibilities of identity theft, fraud, slanders, natures. All exceptions are demonstration of the same thing. They bring things before courts when they have to, and when they show you things through the media about real life and mixed where they have that feeder, they're in collusion because they've been using the real life where they've been making mistakes in cases on purpose. And they've been hiding that. They've been doing it, and they've been valuing how people do that. They've been valuing contrast to other nations as means to pretend, as means to pretend they could interpret the Constitution or speak for the Constitution unabridged. Its nature, which is greater than and more finite than any of the ones we hear. I'll cheer for Marbury versus Madison alone. All justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. Or it's not real justice, not the Constitution unabridged. So we have a quality of fact-keeping nature forced, A, therefore, B, convictions with criminal foreign influence, but also with physical delusions only capable of being self-valued by the interbranch family members, intercities and interstates, by all private tied to them, only capable of pretending that is personal when they hear that, and only capable of self-valuing where and how there are legitimate judges and there are legitimate police forms that will counter this. But they can't unless people follow in other words, everyone's lying to them, the databases too. That's what's involved with this. This is having kept. The parts of the science is obfuscated. While simultaneously they were pretending others simultaneously. They weren't doing their work. They shouldn't need to do their work. They should just have all the answers right there on paper, and they should have the same book too. Because if there's other reasons they're not doing their homework, or they're not learning things because it's for other reasons that are from other classrooms too. It's not just they don't follow the rules relevant to how they have confessions and demonstrations of recorded conscious roles with overt criminal enterprises, with their confessions influenced instead by the kids of mayors through time. They know that little kids have means to understand how they are criminally foreign influence and how that infects because they know that a political family and an executive family. When I was The confessions of strangers and demonstrations of strangers, like a Mayor Gold's family, his daughter Debbie Gold, and Andrew and Tim O'Brien and their parents. They colluded with others with identity thefts and frauds behind my back from other classrooms, and and with databases stacking fake things and then saying, spreading lies on and off there through time. Intercities involved, intercities and interstreets. They have the corners of the principal child abuser street involved with confessions and demonstration of a CN Faglione family I never had anything to do with, is involved with identity thefts and frauds with Tim O'Brien and Andrew O'Brien, where they tried to make exceptions to pretend other years ago, and then they made confessions about it. Then they were walking in their corner. They have something with that corner. They keep bringing. There's a Jennifer Penapicki too, and a Danielle Perron, and his brother. Their recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, having been influenced to roles with identity thefts and frauds against me. Mostly this Perron family, and he involved with their neighbors with that. Also, my football coach did, who I never had a personal conversation with my football coach, never had a verbal conversation with him, never had a verbal conversation personal with a Nick Van de Corner or something like that, associated with that corner near them. I forgot the name of the street. But that was down the street from, he was on that street and the side of his house, the front of his house, the former Mayor Gold was facing. And his neighbor, there's a Joseph Dennis involved with people with the intelligence community and with private tied to them, investigated, and his campuses. These are people through campuses, private, public, connected, medical campuses, fire campuses, prison campuses, on off the state, the locations next to the state judicial branch offices and the judicial branch offices, and the on off the state prison offices and the prison offices, is involved with federal crimes that are worse than war crimes. Where they are all victims, they want to be and need to be referred to as victim predators because the court's involvements with them, for their methods where they are victim predators. They want and need. So they've been switching names, forging names through time. They've been using their roles with instances to fabricate things into databases, being used to further lie progressions that their kids are involved with, recorded, already locked. They're involved with all kinds of child abuses of Wethersfield kids and with their own. And from off the campuses that was influenced, then further on and off them. Is through time. Control your mind. So a Kerr family reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they're involved with people on Fairlane, and Wethersfield police reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they're on people on Fairlane involved with them and with the Cololo family. Over the past 9 months ago, a guy who said he was Officer Sullivan from Wethersfield Police is involved with people from Trinity College named Joshua Striker and Eric Oliveri, and with some woman I don't know who years ago reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with federal criminals that were also further recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, like from 1994. In other words, on Trinity College, involved with identity theft, frauds, falsified police reports roles with investigators, and with foreign and domestic families, people from Korea and from Afghanistan, involved on off with Wethersfield police, like a Smith family, involved with people that answer the phones for the Wethersfield police, involved with untimely deaths, roles with ecstasy with the kids, with some various natures of courts and doctors involved with their patients, and criminals with drugs crimes and with physical delusions and fake conversations with me and little tricks to pretend there's a misunderstandings and such. That's what happens when you have offensive evidence reception racketeering, where you have interbranch individually grouped and together caught, but no one's watching them. They use crime methods where they switch names, forge names, and fabricate audio and video at locations and interbranch at the same time, and with the places tied to them. Also, because is reported, like there are people on and off Central Connecticut State University who are involved with training people who run prisons interstates, and they have family members interstates of people who run prisons who come to Central Connecticut State University. Now, these are also databases they share with the military and with the fire departments, have an intimate relationship with the police forms, and with with all that's manifest to where and how they have methods individually grouped and together into branch, where they have the police forms of each branch in collusion with their other forms of the same and other types. They have the hierarchies criminally foreign influence. They have the uses of the locations criminally foreign influence. So I do not know this. Tom Perone and Danielle Perone, they sought me out to pretend other, to try to make exceptions real fast. And they lied about my responses to them pretending other too. And they also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. It has something to do with there are places on Fox Connecticut News in downtown Hartford that is involved with a whole bunch of people with the businesses next to them, the buildings next to them, with former director of the FBI, and with people with religious locations that were child abused. There are proofs that it was from off the locations, even where and how it was is from on the locations and off them further through other motivations, natures, needs, interests. Like if they really did sexual abuse of kids or something like that. They have these people involved with juxtaposed natures of child abuse and of elderly abuse. They have roles with positions with the DMV and the Department of Motor Vehicles, Department of Transportation, various natures of courts, and people with the buildings and houses next to the State of Connecticut judicial branch offices. Also, Enzo Fienza recorded and involved with confessions tied to the body of Billy Grasso. Also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, tied to the spots next to it, associated with his family, involved with federal evidences, crimes with the Dillon family associated with that, and timed uses of their roles with identity thefts and frauds, evidence crimes on and off the right next to the state judicial branch offices. Also with people from my town, I don't know at all. He's not even from my town. I don't know. One of them lives on Two Route Highway or lived there. And they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed their neighbors also rolls with this and with this Dillon family. And the Dillon family Kevin Dillon and Anna Dillon are some of the ones recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved over since before the World Trade Center attack each year with the people involved intercities with fabricated police reports and federal crimes regarding the instances that they were making arrests in relationship to. And they've been doing this intercities connected through time. And so also they have they have the national/international news pretending sense and sensibilities offensively, making lies and allegations against people at locations while planting evidences as wire crimes with fake conversations about the World Trade Center, fake conversations with me and others about legal cases that they also lied about, used to lie about actually recorded legal cases without making sense in their fake news articles. And they also still have those fake news articles, pictures up, and they change the writings a little. They obfuscate things. They have because because of their uses of the identity ground locations, the extent of the identity thefts and frauds, where and how the courts and the police forms and the military have to highlight progressions for other reasons, juxtaposed with the people that they have needing to pretend passions and emotions at locations, like their investigators associated with training on and off Elm Street and Rocky Hill and along Route 3. All these people involved with the uses of my name who are involved with foreign and domestic, where there is timed collusion between that. And it was brought up relevant to where and how I still haven't been responded to over the phone. And I heard a whole bunch of confessions, including by the principal child abuser and all that, and the more girls he brought into upskirt nature pictures at the stores and stuff like that, it wouldn't have been brought into it. It wouldn't even have happened if you had responded to me. But see now too that was already, they already had the involvements of that. There were a whole bunch of judges' families associated with the Delafair family involved with identity thefts and fraud, and they time it from backgrounds to pretend they know you. And in other words, it's also relevant. He's relevant also where they have the spots next to the highways, and people associated with the boxing gyms where they've been fabricating audio and video, identity theft, fraud, slanders, also in the form of falsified police reports, rolls with courts and with military families, also ones involved on off the state prison offices, as the ones involved on off the state judicial branch offices. Also with the Enzo Francis confessions about the body double spot of Billy Grasso and tied to their houses, their family's houses there, and next to and on Two Route Highway, and their associations with the Kevin Dillon, which is again the Kevin Dillon and Anna Dillon are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved on my street with child abuse and other natures of federal crimes, and criminal uses of real estate agents and people's neighbors like mine. That's recorded. Now they've been refusing to respond to me for their roles also with the other Wethersfield police forging and switching names, and people with the uses of the corner of Fair Lane and Carriage Hill that was brought up by the confessions in my speech class /S when I was in high school by the guy who said he was the partner in one of my speeches, the partner of Detective Dillon. He's one of the ones with the various natures of courts and their family members. Also, Hartford courts, Hartford Superior Court and other courts in Hartford haven't had their family members involved with predicate acts intercities, planting evidences, including fact-checking nature-oriented, like, oh yeah, but did you say this or that? And they're leaving out exceptions because their roles with evidence perception racketeering worse than war crimes, originally and still. And let's see, those people with their sense and sensibilities, they're getting in the way of what needs to use correlation natures, actually inherent active progressive means by what's been actually causing the negative value nature progressions acts in natures in Hartford. So there's a house right near the exit of a school in Hartford that is involved with houses next to the schools in Wethersfield that is involved with federal crimes with all these confessions at once because they had to pretend to know me with the clicks where they were lying about the nature of my relationship to the people my age that live around me that I never had anything to do with, never saw around at all, and one I barely only saw through relative context where they were trying to establish evidence racketeering, criminally foreign influence with the courts criminally involved and with the foreign simultaneously, and that's what they were actually communicating. And relative to where and how the executive family, the O'Brien family, and the Debbie Gold in my grammar school, and then so through time each year that you got a little confession, and you don't think about it because you're just trying to focus on positive. See, they're keep making people focus on positive and negative wrong, more focus on identities wrong. They're using their roles with an identity theft /fraud /slander method specifically to keep from being discerned and utilized. Correlation nature is actually inherent active progressive means by logic properly spoken for. So they've been using their roles with no one wants to have to do anything with the drugs that they have people doing, and because they've been pretending some of the people tied to drugs and with themselves and pretending them tied to alcohol and with themselves, we're pretending people tied to themselves because they've been using locations criminally. They've been keeping the interbranch criminally foreign influence that needs to keep evidence perception at all locations. So This one of they hope they have the extended family members too. I don't know which Cololo they're referring to. Wethersfield Police, when they called me up with these games, switching names with the name Sullivan, and they have people switching, stealing my identity on Facebook with them, rolls with them through time. With my father, they have my father's guy pretending to be my father on Facebook. In other words, these are people associated with the Wethersfield Police. They don't have to know their actual names. The Wethersfield Police reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with this. For example, when they're switching names, these are also people. There's a guy who uses the name Darth Vader, who's preventing names from being gotten, who is involved on Trinity College with people with the locations next to Trinity College involved with the untimely deaths. And the drugs, the rolls with the ecstasy and the other kinds of drugs with the Wethersfield Police. Time their rolls with cocaine, time their rolls with marijuana, time their rolls with ecstasy, time their rolls with codeine crimes, and with the doctors that prescribe that stuff and give away the free all kind of free samples and stuff, because they're bringing things before courts that are fake. And a lot of the time, and when they aren't, they've been building upon what they've been doing with the grammar schools, where how they're confessing into the kids and demonstrating it to the kids, where and how the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the political branch is criminally foreign influence, and they're aware of it. And they are manifest as styles that cannot afford people to use the increasing value, the surging value that is only positive unto itself when you discern what was sickly distinctly against Native American rights, while sickly non-distinctly while sickly distinctly against colonist rights, while sickly distinctly against Native Americans' rights further as Native Americans, while sickly distinctly further against Americans as Americans against our rights. Sickly distinctly to keep all sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. See how it's president / chief. You could say everyone's been treating it as president and chief. See, president / chief is something totally different. And the / is the complete possession, like everything, of the identity of is actually hyper simultaneous and going by its system. We could invent and be other systems, but it will only demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. That's really what causes the negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, like murders at locations that have had that happen through time. Look at New York City. That's part of what actual science reveals killed those people, being in that trap. And never having heard law unabridged speak to them. And that was what our founders obligated us to get done. Boxing is fun. Boxing, it sings one way. It sings or says or not. Let's all get hot. We see a species body will be gifted by Santa, but Santa will gift the entire, everywhere at once is evolution's method. It's going to make more forever nature that is also positive unto itself and as its system here, native pure, or it's going to force us force whoever doesn't want to be that as negative value nature from here. And even if you don't want to be at self-value now, so everyone's self-value going to space because everyone's playing through the game. There are certain kinds of child abuse that every member of country A through Z, even if you're a king, even if you're a pharaoh, locations, areas, and states are criminally foreign influenced. You're going to value their criminally foreign influence, positive and negative, and identity treatments, sequence treatments, and defenses of them, increasingly needing to self-value how the sciences are and got abridged The Constitution stands abridged. We cannot properly blame another nation for this. We cannot properly blame the breaching method without discerning it through the involvements of the other nations and our own. But we cannot do it through our own. They already are in collusion with evidence reception racketeering, data reception racketeering, sequence shifts reception racketeering, original. And that state, it knew we were going to take off the surface things. It knew we were going to do it like knaves, only capable of being knaves after what was sustained. While what was being sustained, no one was watching. The reliances that all that was manifest with that were given with each other to keep each location, area, and state self-valued criminally foreign influence, not wanting to be in the context where we want to make we want to be free. That is not prevent anyone but the demonstrations of nature, how it works. Entertain the delusion juxtaposed with the reliant upon criminally foreign influence premises treatment to defend itself, opinion or conviction that America is free. And your logic will have qualities of fact-cheaping nature that you'll have to pretend passions, emotions, and self-value means and needs, having been kept and to keep at all locations, only qualities of fact-cheaping nature. No, people are making allegations against the people about others at locations because there's a method originally still of bringing things before courts. They're shut up stupid. They're A, therefore B, and leaving out exceptions, leaving out their roles personally, and all kinds of means to discern it with the same locations, with people personally criminally involved with them, and then people are going before courts, even including the campuses. They don't have rights to be thinking after what I caught them worth on campuses, and what you're going to catch them worth on campuses. But we don't get mad at them because you guys are the same thing right now recorded. When you make opinions about the isms and democracy, and you want to let's debate it. Follow mandated law. Debate what? You got to follow mandated law. You guys are making things up online, then you have to replace the online because you're too fake. You don't have a leadership because since they were kids, they were involved with doctors that were sick with their minds. Attaching more and more, needing to attach kids that they have a conversation to fake ties to themselves in databases. So get the interbranch onto paper and say sorry to those female judges too, and or have them say sorry to you. You know, because let's get them to one name and sequence too with the state's attorneys too, because the prosecutors, the alternatives, those are still in collusion with uses of the locations where they're having the people, they're even having the people that are committing crimes as kids involve other kids that have nothing to do with it, and the people that are the crimes are committed against are also the crimes against the kids, against the innocent. So they have the people are getting arrested as the innocents, and all sides are criminal. These courts are criminally foreign influence. So there's something to do with Town Line Drive and the policing of the locations and the shopping centers in Wethersfield and Rocky Hill and Hartford, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Also intercities involved with connections to it and uses of it as the people involved on off Central Connecticut State University with the various natures of police forms and their family members criminally involved with this. It's something to do with their roles with the malls too. You know, the different natures of things as they are manifest towards that, and as that facade value across the board of nations too. No, sick. Since before cars, they put this to cause negative value nature, progress sex nature. See you, anyone, let me tell, how is someone going to pretend that they can't discern what the people are talking about in Hartford, Connecticut when they say, we're in a trap. This is designed to cause negative value nature, progressive acts of nature. There's collusion on and off campuses. Why do people know my name before I know them? And then through time, there's connections with that. You have little sick fakes, then they need to pretend it's about color and things like that. The only ones to speak for the law, delusions, raw, victim predators, though, because so they're incapable of defending their logic offensively, seeing it when logic is not about calling names and making allegations at locations, fabricating audio and video. They have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes where they know they're supposed to give the benefit of the doubt to police and the courts in cases. They leave out exceptions. They're not supposed to be planting evidences, and they're not supposed to be denying people the nature of the law where they could say, hey, look, our whole community is in a trap. Forget about it. We can't even, where are the vegetables? Where's the job? You're gonna hold me here like this. You get that food here. That's how we do it. And they make them take positions with fact-cheating nature. You watch the delusions and the criminally foreign influence premises treatments behind these people pretending passions, emotions regarding isms and regarding sequence value, while they deny value of sequence, while they deny people response to mandated law by fabricating audio and video in databases and background. They know they have remotely used locations, areas, and states into branch too long. They've been fabricating audio and video. They can't afford to have mandated law now. It will show what they were doing at locations. It will show their actually recorded nature, see criminal insidiousness. But you can't afford not to, is what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm going to show you how the countries keep them criminally foreign influence, and they keep pretending because they keep the topic stored this way. They keep the locations, areas, and states stewards criminally foreign influence. They know which ones have been with the other countries, like the Demaros, involved with people from Korea and with people from Afghanistan and people from other countries associated with this Joshua Stryker on and off Trinity College, involved with people with the locations next to Trinity College, also with identity theft frauds and roles with some untimely deaths and some sexual circles that had girls abused by the police forms with the courts and the prisons tied to them, also involved with crimes with the principal child abusers campus together, because tied to that. And the method, their roles were also with this Debbie Gold and this Tim O'Brien, making live progressions tied to federal crimes they were involved with when I was in grammar school. Now they're still involved with that grammar school criminally. I still haven't got a response to their roles with the wire crimes, with the media, with the phones at the schools, and with the mail, and with the falsified police reports and the interbranch switching and forging names. They have the Wethersfield town offices involved with this. There's also an Old Town Cafe, and there are fire departments, and there are places all along Church Street in Old Wethersfield that are involved with the people with the names, with who had federal crimes in the past, proven and unproven, but further recorded, that were also in the form of, and as identity theft, frauds, and slanders that were also timed against me and against others, but through being attached to me. There's a Leahy family. There's a Leahy family with various courts, prosecutors, and judges, himself personally criminally involved